Hey everybody, this is Mark.
And this is Justin.
And this is Awkward Fist Bump Productions.
Bang.
Boom!
Boom, yeah.
All right. So we have got a great guest on today. His name is Zach. And I don't know if you want to give your last name, because I don't give my last name.
I don't.
Yeah, okay, cool. So his name is Zach, and he has his own podcast. So real quick, before we start, Zach, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, brother?
Well, I'm a Republican from New York State, so that's why I don't give my last name, because that could turn out really badly, because, New York State and Republican, they just don't go together.
There's like 4 of y'all, isn't there, in the entire state?
Well, surprisingly, 3/4 of the entire state is red, and then you have like 4 counties that are blue. It's really, really kind of confusing. But so I'm just here because I got opinions, and I'm willing to say them, unlike a lot of people.
Okay, very good, very good. You want to tell people about your podcast before we get started, in case
I do have a podcast called Wheel Men Talk Shit. You can find it on Apple Podcast and pretty much anywhere else podcasts are found.
Okay, very good. Well, the reason why I asked Zach to come on is about 2 months ago, actually a little longer than that, he contacted me after I did a interview on PKA, which is a podcast in and of itself. If you don't know, they're pretty cool. Give them a follow on YouTube. Anyway, he contacted me as a result of doing the PKA podcast, and we've just maintained a friendship ever since then. So I asked him to come on, be a guest today, and he was more than happy to. We've got some potential exciting news coming up that I don't wish to share yet. However, as if you don't know, you didn't see the last episode, you're like, where is Ashley? Well, unfortunately, Ashley is no longer a part of our programming. She's a big supporter, and it was through no internal fighting. And there was no internal fighting whatsoever that caused her to leave. There was just some stuff that happened, and she had to step down. So, Ashley, once again, we love you. Fist bump. Boom. And but she remains one of our largest supporters. So, all right, one of the reasons, Zach, why I asked you to come on today is we've talked over the course of the last 2 months. You have actually got some interesting insight, and I'll go ahead and let you start because we've got some notes here that we usually don't have when we do the show, but that way we knew what we were talking about. So let's talk about that radio show that you did recently. Zach, my boy, actually got picked up by a nationally syndicated radio station to do an interview. And, one of the biggest things about our channel is we try to show both sides of the story. We don't try to call anybody names. We don't say, hey, you're a poo-poo head because you're not a cop. We don't say, Justin, you all right, dude? You okay? Anyway, but he was telling me this story about doing an interview with a nationally syndicated radio show, mind you. And this is exactly what we don't want. That's why we bring people on to, and they might have an opinion 180 degrees different from mine. However, we want to have positive dialogue where we have people of, all races, all opinions, all different politics that we can all come to some common ground. So let's talk about it, Zach. Zach, what happened?
Okay. So I think it's regionally syndicated, not nationally.
Oh,
you're tooting my horn a little too much. That'd be crazy if it was nationally syndicated. That would be a very, very bad choice. So on my podcast, I do the same thing. I talk to everybody. I've had presidential candidates. I've had UFC fighters. I've had Mark from 60 Days In. Mm-hmm. I've had my wife, and we talked about mental illness. And I try and kind of bridge the gap everywhere I possibly can and try and just lay out all my thoughts and try and bring in that conversation because we're lacking that in this country a lot.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So somebody posted on one of these forums saying, hey, if you support the police, you support Blue Lives Matter, you support All Lives Matter, whether that's Lives Matter, whatever you actually say, come on. So I messaged. I was like, hey, you want somebody to actually portray what you want to portray? I'll come on. I have a podcast. I'm willing to talk. I'm able to talk. And that's the hardest thing is there's a lot of people that just can't talk. So then I got really frustrated because I got this call and I'm like, I'm the only one who even supported the police in any little bit. Every single one of them wanted to defund the police. I'm like, That's not a good start. So we go in and they're like 7 of them all only give me feelings, no facts. And I go in there, I have 3 pages written worth of notes. I'm like, I got this. I'll just destroy these people for 2 hours. I'll click off the call, and then I'm going to post it as my podcast for the week, which is why I didn't have one last week. It was supposed to be the interview and stuff like that. Because I asked him, I was like, hey, I want to share this as my podcast. It'll grow your radio show. It'll grow my podcast. It'll help us both. So I'm like, okay, I got this. This is easy. And then they just start spouting their feelings and saying that when they say Black Lives Matter, they don't connect to the corporation Black Lives Matter. And I'm like, sorry, if you say just do it, obviously you mean Nike. Like, you can't dissociate that. You can't, once an object, a symbol, or a saying is taken by a company, you can't dissociate the two. You can't take the swastika from the Nazis, regardless of the history behind it. You can't take the saying from Black Lives Matter. You just can't. There's comparison there. You just can't change it. And they got really, really mad, saying that that's not what Black Lives Matter stands for. It doesn't stand for separating nuclear families, just like all 3 of us have. And I'm like, don't you think that damages the conversation and damages what's going on in this country when you're creating divisive conversation? And they're like, just saying things are divisive or saying lives matter actually just disagrees with everything we stand for. And I'm like, there's no conversation here. There's just not. Like, how many more times are we going to say that there's more crime in certain locations and not correlate that to what the problems are? We do have a policing problem, but that's not the only answer. The only answer isn't just we need to better police people. We also need to better train people. And the people that are in the streets need to actually respect the people that are helping them.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute.
Yeah.
The people that say Black Lives Matter, let's talk about this for just a second. The people that support the Black Lives Matter movement. I've seen the argument that they make that we're not saying white lives don't matter. We're not saying police don't matter. We're not saying any other race or whatever doesn't matter. All we're saying is right now, Black lives are the lives that are currently under attack. They're the ones that are being gunned down. What say you about that?
The thing that I brought up to them was, it's kind of 2 parts. They're like, what is racism? And I'm like, racism can go any way. It can go from a white person to a black person. It can go from a black person to a white person, and it all intermingles. As we saw in 60 Days In, there was hatred going every way, and that's racism. That's race on race on race. That's not prejudice. You're racist. Mm-hmm. There's no comparison there. And they disagreed. They said that it's power, and I said, what power do I have over you? And they couldn't answer that. They couldn't answer it. It's like, what more do you actually plan on saying that I have power over you? Because that's incorrect. Mm-hmm. I'm the same as you. So then we got into the whole me saying that because you're saying Black Lives Matter, you're essentially saying Black Lives Matter more, because you are. The second that you put a race to something, you're offending the other races. Mm-hmm. And then you have the standing of what that means behind it. Then you have a major problem, because the corporation is disgusting. You don't see them putting money into Chicago. You don't see them putting money into New York City and trying to build those communities up. You see them throwing riots in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Like, who's ever heard of Kenosha, Wisconsin before last week? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I haven't. It's a city with 100,000 people.
Yeah. That means it's smaller than the city I live in.
It's 10 times bigger than the city I grew up in.
See, I think and then this is my opinion, and by all means, comment, leave messages at the bottom. We want diverse opinions.
Understand this. I don't hate anybody. I don't see color. I treat everybody equally, and the second that you're mean or an ass to me, that's where I become defensive. Mm-hmm. I love everybody. if you come at me intelligently and bring up a conversation, let's talk. I'm willing to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And when you try and say that the only thing that you have to back up your facts are feelings, not numbers, not stats, not facts. Facts don't have feelings. They don't care about them.
Well, that's interesting. That's definitely interesting. And as I said, if you're watching this and you're like, that guy's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's talking about, please comment below. I mean, do it respectfully,
Yeah.
and be willing to come onto the show and support. Hey, why do you support Black Lives Matter? I mean, we want to have that conversation. We definitely do, especially as it pertains to law enforcement. Excuse me, because I mean, do you really think that law enforcement has an agenda to put minorities in jail? And it's a conversation that I think is a good conversation to have, because I'm I work in law enforcement, and I don't see that. But once again, I'm not sitting here saying you're an idiot. Please come on. Please say, hey, I want to be a guest, and maybe we'll get you on. But you talking about Kenosha, everything that's going on in Kenosha, Wisconsin, city of
Before we go to
100,000 people. Yes.
I got one question.
Go ahead.
Both of you guys have dealt with law enforcement, whether you're a part of it or you had a problem with them. Where has anybody ever seen a law that actually affects people of color or minorities more than white people? Because I haven't. And if you do, I will stand up, I will hold your hand, and I will fight for you.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I haven't, and not like I've said in the past, I'm not proud of my past and not proud of things that I've done in my past, but I've had officers draw their guns on me. I've been arrested multiple times. I've been slammed out by the police, and in doing time in prison, I was treated just like anybody else. I wasn't treated any special because of anything, so I mean, I've seen it from a little bit from both sides. Like I've been treated wrong by officers, and like if you do wrong, you do wrong. It doesn't matter who you are. Like if you do wrong, you're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna get arrested. Like and when I'm not doing wrong, I don't have a problem with the police. So it's like. For some people, it's hard to understand. Like, if you're not doing wrong, you're not going to get bothered by the police. And then, like, where there's a lot of problems with people getting pulled over and stuff, is like, you got to just sit there and be quiet and let them do their job and hopefully go on about your day if you're not doing anything crazy. Once you go to opening your mouth, you've lost the game. You've lost everything. Once you start talking,
it's a line in your Miranda rights for a reason.
Yeah, once you start yelling, fighting, screaming, cussing, everything goes out the window, and it doesn't matter who you are. You're gonna make the situation worse for you. But the more that you just sit there, do what they say, and if you're not doing nothing wrong, you're gonna go about your day and keep pushing. But like that's one thing. It's like it's hard for me to understand. Like a lot of these things that have come up is. People are fighting with the police and stuff. Well, I mean, if you just sit there and be quiet and do whatever they tell you, and hopefully you'll go on about your day, or you're going to get locked up because you were doing something wrong. If not, then, you just keep pushing.
Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and tackle the next topic. And we're talking about Kenosha, Wisconsin. We're talking about, in fact, that was a good prelude, Justin, because you're talking about, hey, man, if you don't fight the police, you have nothing to worry about. There's a lot of people in Wisconsin right now that'll disagree with you because, there was the guy that was shot in the back 7 times in Wisconsin because, and you fill in the blank. It depends on what narrative you want to subscribe to. But now let's fast forward even there, and we can do that on another episode. But let's fast forward even more. Is we had protesters and rioters because we did have rioters in the streets. So this kid, the 17-year-old kid, Kyle Rittenhouse, takes an AR-15, and at the end of the day, I'm not 100% sure what he did. I know what he claims he was there for, but at the end of the story, I mean, the truth of the matter is I don't know his heart. I don't know what he was thinking. But let's just take it at face value. He was there to help guard a business. So he gets separated.
I believe the auto dealership that, if you saw that newscast beforehand, was burnt down the night before.
Yeah. So he was there. If you believe in what he's saying, he was there to guard a business. He gets somehow separated from his crew. We've seen it over and over again. I'm sure y'all seen the video. We don't even need to post it here because you know the video, where it shows him. Most people have seen the second video where he's trying to get away. He's going down the street and he's being attacked by multiple people. And he turns around, he caps 2 or 3 people. I think he actually kills 2. Now, I don't know how many people have seen the video before that, where the first victim of the shooting, I'm not going to say victim of the crime, I'll just say victim of the shooting, because it really kind of depends on how you look at it. You can see he's chasing Kyle. He's being don't know what led up to that.
There was a video about that. He threw a firebomb or a Molotov cocktail.
Well, it wasn't a Molotov cocktail.
Yes.
It was actually a plastic bag that had something in it. If you look close, it wasn't a Molotov cocktail. But regardless of what it was, he threw something at him. He chased after him, and Kyle turned around and shot him. I mean, I don't even know where to go from there because, I know we're going to have this conversation, and I hope I don't look down and find out we lost 200 followers because of this. But what are you guys going to say? Self-defense or murder?
It's a hard question. Like you said, stuff like that, you're not there. You don't know the full entire story. You don't know what led up to everything happening. But from face value, like you said, just watching the videos that everybody else has seen, he was there to protect a business or businesses, and he had Pat to help out if anybody else got injured because he was EMT certified. So, and he was in the process of becoming a police after he was supposed to graduate high school and all that. So, I feel like, from what we've seen, I feel that his heart was right to try to go and just help people that need help, that to stand up for this country and for the citizens that can't do it themselves or are too afraid to. And then as he was there, there was people yelling and arguing with him and trying to attack him. And, it looks like it was self-defense. And, and then as he's running down the road, he's getting chased, he's getting swung on while he's running. He's getting hit with a skateboard while he's running after he tripped. You see he's trying to get away from everybody. He's not standing there walking through just shooting everybody. Like, he was trying to get away from the conflict. And then when he felt his life was in jeopardy, that's when he took it into his hands to protect himself. And I saw the video today that as soon as that happened and everybody scattered, he got up and walked away. He walked straight up to the police with his hands up and knew that he was wrong, but he was protecting himself, what it looks like, But he just walked straight up to the police with his hands up, and it was over with.
And that's actually a good point. So that actually brings me to another question. I don't mean to interrupt, but I see this quite often. Is Kyle Rittenhouse? What was the name of the kid that in Charleston that went into the church, the African American church, and shot it up? Y'all know what I'm talking about.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Well, that's the kid that supposedly
Okay.
they took him to Burger King, which I hear wasn't even the case. But what would you say to people that say, well, how come white people get taken, they get taken alive, but black people are murdered? I would say what I see in the cases where unfortunately a shooting has happened, because we're not celebrating anybody getting shot at all.
And that case was total bogus. Like, there was no reason for him to do that.
Well, I think what we see, and whether you like to admit it or not, is in both cases, and I'm talking about these two separate cases alone, they surrendered. They didn't resist. Like in Kyle Rittenhouse's case, yes, he had his gun, but you could see he had it down here and he was trying to walk up to him with his hands up.
Yep.
I think as long as you don't present yourself as a threat to law enforcement officers, they're not going to take drastic measures when it comes to you. And so, I see that, and I don't agree that white people get off as opposed to black people getting shot. I think if you don't resist, in this case, they didn't resist at all. They went into custody with no issues. And you see people of color that as long as they don't resist, and of course then people, there's going to be people that will say, well, what about this person? What about this person? Well, in 99.9% of cases, I'm not going to speak for the full 100%, but in 99.9% of cases, if you surrender, peacefully surrender, nothing's going to happen to you. But
that's what I think is crazy is like everybody wants to react on the 1%, and even if you round it up, it makes it easier to talk about. Is there's bad cops, even if you want to give them 1%. There's shitty people that shouldn't be cops. The assholes that were bullies in school and everything else that still want to live that same exact life. And then there's people that want to improve their life, and then there's people that want to improve everybody else's life and try and bring that community together. So why should we react on the 1% of everything? Let's get rid of those people and deal with the problem. Mm-hmm. But let's not react on the 1%. Let's understand that 99% of this is good. As long as we all can agree that the foundation of it isn't broken, then we have 99% that's good. We have a 1% problem.
And I think with that 1% problem, like after they start working on the police forces after this, because they're going to. So once they start retraining officers and implementing new things into being a police officer, I don't know, but I've heard of different officers who have done wrong, and then you look in their past and like, well, look at all these check marks that they have where people have complained about them, civilians and different officers. There should be a very short number of complaints and something should happen. Like they should be cut off from working on the streets, and then if something and more complaints, then they should be fired. Like they shouldn't let people that have a whole list of complaints from officers and civilians just keep working.
Or let the people move that are bad police officers, move them into 911 call centers, move them into the secretarial work of, hey, go deal with this call, go deal with that call. I'll fill out the paperwork so that way it's done and ready and done correctly. Like we have all these people that are trained. Why aren't we using them properly? We're sitting here just throwing people out or letting them keep doing their job when they're not doing it correctly.
Yeah.
I don't know if either one of you guys saw this after, I believe Mike Brown, the Ferguson shooting. There was a video, I believe, I don't know exactly what city it was. Google, cop takes Black Lives Matter leader into a shooting range.
I actually did see that. I did see that.
It is one of the most
insightful,
thought-provoking, insightful videos I've seen. And you actually see in his head, which he's no longer head of Black Lives Matter. Get it straight, people. He was removed because he started understanding where they were coming from. You have to react in 30 milliseconds of if you're going to shoot somebody or if you're not.
Oh, yeah.
I believe the first one, this guy's sitting there changing a tire and a cop, and they walk up. And they ask him, hey, buddy, how's it going? Everything okay? And he pulls the gun out of the wheel well and shoots him. Obviously fake. It was just a training exercise. And the second one, two people are fighting, like actual fist fighting. And the one of them starts running up on the guy, and he just bang, 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 shoots him, the cop. And he's like, why'd you shoot him? He's not armed.
Mm-hmm.
You just showed him, hey.
And when you said the cop, what you meant was I believe he was a reverend, but he supported the Black Lives Matter movement. Yeah, you're talking about he's the one that shot the guy.
And a cop. Yeah, they were working together.
So it was the guy that supported Black Lives Matter that shot the guy, and they're like, why did you shoot him? Yeah. And then I think the third shooting, because there was another scenario, and I don't remember the details behind the third scenario.
That one wasn't as interesting to me.
Yeah. But I mean,
He ended up being armed.
ultimately, I mean, let's be honest. You have the luxury to Monday morning quarterback everything after it happens.
Yeah.
But when you're in the moment, and as you said, you know, a millisecond, you have to make a decision. I mean, and then you make that decision. And once again, and I don't make no bones about it. I believe 99% of police interactions are positive. And when I say positive, I don't mean, hey, have a good day, buddy. I'm
Everything
giving you a
but
warning.
negative.
Okay, I don't mean that. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say positive. I believe 99% of police interactions in the way they're supposed to. Unfortunately, sometimes that does involve an officer involved shooting. However, if you look at the details, you do the investigation, 99% of the time it's justified. Yes, we are talking about 1% of the time, but to go back to, you're talking about 1% of the profession, but that's every profession.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what profession you. Unfortunately, in our line of work, that 1% is, all over the news, all over the media.
And that 1%, if you look at it, a couple years ago, I believe 16 white people that were unarmed were killed. 9 black people were killed the same exact way. So that's saying for every 2 white people that were killed, white males, not white females, because for some reason, 95% of males in those interactions, you're more likely to be killed, 95% to 5% male to female. This is why I was on a radio show for this stuff. You're more likely to be killed. And then if you look at it, that means for every 2 white guys that were killed, a black guy was killed, which in all honesty, I think everybody can say this. If anybody dies other than an illness or it's your time, it's sad and unwanted.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Floyd, just like all of this stuff. But that doesn't discount how bad or good of a person that person was. Whether you take your life yourself or somebody else takes your life, it's sad.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't discount what you did throughout your entire life.
However, I would also say that you could have been, for example, and I'm going to throw you under the bus for a second, Justin. Let's say you have an interaction with the police, you get shot. The one thing I've noticed is we're quick. And the same thing happened with Kyle Rittenhouse too. But we're quick to say, okay, well, see, they went to jail for this, and I think if something, heaven forbid, were to happen to you, Justin, they would say, look, a 2-time felon, he did 10 years in prison for this charge, he did this, that, and the other, and that would be quick to. So I think when we throw out, hey, this person's passed, yes, does that dictate sometime how you interact with that person? Yeah, probably. However,
I'm sure it does. You're a human. Like, it happens.
Yeah. So, but it doesn't discount, for example, if I just walk up and I shoot you, that doesn't give me a license just to shoot and kill somebody because of your past.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't. And I think we all agree on that.
Yeah.
However, your past does dictate. For example, you talk about Kenosha, Wisconsin. This individual, and you're talking about in the town, and I'm sorry, I didn't even write down his name, and to be honest, I don't remember his name, so it's no disrespect to him whatsoever. However, in a town of 100,000 people, you got to think that's a mid-sized town on the smaller side of things. Maybe, just maybe, they had interacted with him before and they knew how he was. Now, I'm not justifying, I don't know I don't know what happened, but what I'm saying is your previous behavior, especially if I know you, dictates sometimes my interaction with you. Am I justifying it? No. Am I telling you the truth? Yes.
No, but you see the same thing with Floyd too.
Yeah.
You see that he was a drug addict who sat there and was high on fentanyl, and now has come out for a second different autopsy that the fentanyl is what killed him. He couldn't breathe before his knee was on his neck, which isn't a good thing. Just disclaimer, don't quote me saying that it's a good thing, because it's not. But then you have celebrities coming out and trying to pay for his funeral and putting hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars into his family's bank account of something that really, if he wasn't accosted by the police at that precise moment, are we looking at a guy who still died? A guy who's overdosing currently and having a panic attack and an anxiety attack going in a police car. Is he dead still today, regardless of that interaction with the police?
And here's the thing. We don't know. I mean, to be honest, we don't know. I mean, would he have died because it was fentanyl? I mean, there are people that say he would have. Did it probably help that Derek Chauvin had his knee on the guy's neck for 7 to 8 minutes? No. So
no, he's an asshole, but he's going to end up getting off because they swung too hard because they jumped the gun instead of waiting.
And I think that's the big.
They try to charge him wrong.
I do think that's the big problem now is you're seeing in a rush to try to justify or make things right. You're seeing politicians, whether it be mayors or DAs, that are overcharging, and unfortunately, I think what you're gonna see, I think, more harm than good. In the case of Atlanta, the individual that was shot because he aimed the taser at
I think we
officers.
talked about that on our episode that we
did
had.
we? Yeah,
I believe so.
I mean, they were in a rush to charge him to make it right, the mayor and the DA, and he has now lost the runoff election, so he's done. He's out of office. After.
And if you watch the full video, you can genuinely see that cop cared. Mm-hmm. He's like, is he okay? Did I do the wrong thing? Like, he genuinely, like, that's how I could see, like, if you were in this situation, Mark, I can completely see you being like, is he okay? Did I do the right thing? Like, going through the steps of, did I screw up? Not only for me, but him. Did I screw his life up?
Yeah, but unfortunately, was it a terrible situation? I don't think the cops were like, yay, we shot ourselves, someone. No, they weren't at all. But what you're going to see is I believe, and this is my own personal opinion, is a rush to charge these guys to make things right. You're going to see them walk because there was no first degree intentional homicide there. It was, I mean, at the most, and I think you're even stretching, honestly, to charge him with this, but you needed to charge him more with involuntary manslaughter. Sorry. And I mean, I don't know, but see, my biggest fear.
They tried to say all of them are premeditated, and it's just like you're not going to get that. And even if he pleads down, he's not life. And then you're ruining his life and putting him in jail, which is going to kill him, because if you don't look at the judicial system, as we saw with 60 Days In, and I'm sure you saw, Justin, when you were in, cops aren't treated correctly.
No. Well,
you're going to get greenlit. You're going to get stabbed.
They PC up. They go to PC camps.
Yeah, they got a PC camp just for them. And the only people that are there are PCs and officers and high profiles like that cannot be in general population.
And that's the only way that they're able to do it, in all honesty, because if they don't, then you're going to have more death.
Yeah. Well, look, we're at about 33 minutes, so it's time to go ahead and bring this to an end. Man, I thank you guys for both being a part of it. We thank you guys for watching. Zach, thank you for coming on, man. Do you want to do a shout out to your podcast? Tell people how to get a hold of you. You want to do anything like that?
Hey, if you guys want to go check out my podcast, I do let everybody have a chance to speak. We had Mark on. We sat there and talked about literally pretty much everything surrounding 60 Days In. If you want to go check out that episode, just Google Real Men Talk Shit, either on Facebook, on YouTube. Nope, not on YouTube. Too lazy for that. On Apple Podcast, Spotify, anything like that. We've talked about pretty much everything, whether that's mental health, politics, and just tried to break it down as much as you possibly can, because we're all not going to know everything. But you also have a right to be informed and try and inform yourself the most you possibly can.
Well, that's awesome. If you want to follow this guy, we'll have a link in the bio. I mean, in the bottom here, and just follow him, do whatever. as always, if you love our channel, if you want to participate in our channel, hit that subscribe button, fist bump that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. You can definitely reach out. There's all sorts of platforms now that we have. You can definitely participate in the discussion. And if you want to be a guest and you're like, hey, I do not agree at all with this episode, hit us up. You can definitely hit us up at awkwardfistbumpproductions@gmail.com. If you want to support this show, become a Patreon member. All that stuff is on the bottom. As always, thank you so much for participating, and we will see y'all later. All right, boom!